So we're trying to be as high tech as we can, but still produce something which I think looks nice.
Workshop Wisdom is a series of conversations with fellow makers. We ask them to share their learning and insights about life from the time spent in their workshops. In this episode, we chat to designer and maker Matt Newland from Swallow Yachts, located here in Cardigan, Wales. Swallow Yachts produce a range of day sailors and combine classic looks with modern performance. So we're here at Swallow Boats.
Yeah, actually, technically, it's Swallow Yachts.
Swallow Yachts.
That was a rebranding a few years ago. We still got a company called Swallow Boats, but we've got one called Yachts, and well, it's complicated. It's not complicated.
Okay, so Swallow Boats has come from somewhere?
Yes, Swallow Boats. My dad started the company in 1995, just at Nanteverweg, the little cottage just behind us, basically. And he started it. We joked about it being a retirement thing, but he developed a range of kit boats, so literally boats you put together yourself. And I took over, or I was always very interested in it, but I was still at university, and then I had a proper job for a while in London, and then decided that I wanted to come back here. And Dad was sort of thinking about retiring at that point, and that was 2005. Then we decided we needed to do complete boats rather than kit boats, because there just wasn't enough of volume in the market for kit boats, really. And we were lucky enough to be able to buy a corner of the field adjacent to the house from a local farmer, and put this workshop up that we're in now. And then we've gradually expanded and stuff over the years. Incredible.
And what is a day in the workshop like for you?
Well, it does vary. I've been in the workshop quite a lot over the last year, because we've been getting this new product out the door, which is the motorboat. So I tend to take quite an active role and do a lot of hands-on stuff to start with a new product. And then when it's up and running, we've got all the documentation sorted for it. Then I try and, well, I do definitely step back and let the boys do it, because they're better than me normally with their hands. Or I'd like to think I'm okay, but I'm needed elsewhere as well.
How many processes go into it?
Well, we do two different boats here. We do sailboats and motorboats. And the motorboats, as it happens, are built entirely in wood from scratch, and the sailboats are all glass fibre with lots of wood interior and exterior trim and things. But the wooden boats, the motorboats, there's basically three processes: the assembly, which is sticking it all together, then painting it, which is just as much labour again almost, and then fitting it out with all the stuff. Whereas the sailboats is more just plain fit out. You miss out the first two stages, basically, because the moulding work is done by a third-party company.
Incredible. Do you have any rules or rituals when working?
No, not really. Try not to open my email until about 10 o'clock, because that distracts you, and it's not normally brain work. So I like to try and I definitely work better in the morning. And if a good day for me is I get to 4 o'clock and think, oh, I haven't even checked my email.
Yeah.
Because it's so, there's someone, all of my customers have my email address, obviously, and, a customer from 15 years ago can be asking you about changing his jib or something like that, and my advice or something. So 2 seconds, but it's 2 seconds where your concentration's broken.
Yeah, it's distraction, isn't it?
Yeah,
and those first hours are important.
I find it's much better dealing with emails and phone at the end of the day.
Well, we spoke about what the usual day in the life is like at this workshop. When I arrived, the music was loud. Is that really important for you?
No. If I'm honest, I'd have a test match special on, or even Woman's Hour. But I don't mind. I love the music for a bit, but when I work here, if I'm in the workshop for the whole day, I get fed up with it and turn it off occasionally or turn it right down. But today I wasn't in the workshop very much. I was mainly at my PC, and so they rule then, don't they? The boys turn it up, and my mum doesn't like it either, and she's just still down in Nanterferdweg. It's a good stone's throw away, but in the summertime, if the boys have the doors open, then we have a rule: if the doors are open, the music's got to be quiet. Yeah. Because she doesn't like to hear it in the garden. She's definitely not a fan of whatever it is they're playing, which can be anything apart from classic. My mum would love a bit of Beethoven, but they never seem to choose that.
So if you had the choice, would you prefer to work in silence? Podcast?
I can't do podcasts, and I can just about do a podcast and drive and not crash. I can't do it and actually do work, really, because I end up just getting interested in it. And if it's a podcast I'm not interested in, then I don't want to listen to it. So yeah, probably if it's anything remotely technical or typing, silence really for me.
Is there one podcast or YouTube you'd recommend?
No, I don't. I've only just discovered BBC Sounds. So
okay.
And I've listened to a really good BBC one about Brewdog. Yeah. And that just made the journey to Southampton boat show disappear in about 3 seconds because it was so good. So I'm a big fan of them if I'm driving, but I don't do an awful lot. Boat shows and things is transport, so I just don't really have the time to sit down and do it. And if I listen to them as I'm working, I find it too distracting. Yeah.
Is there themes or inspirations or concepts that drift into your work?
Well, most of our boats have a kind of a classic appearance in the boat sense. So it's a bit hard to explain if you don't know boats or much about them, but it's a bit like classic cars, I guess. People know one when they see one, and our boats are all sort of classically inspired. So they've got a bit of wood, but not too much, because you don't want to be varnishing forever. There's sort of some of the best of traditional styling, but with a lot of modern equipment. So we use carbon fibre for our rigs and have done for like 10 years now, because it's easily the best material. So we're not afraid to, we're definitely right at the forefront. We use computational fluid dynamics a bit, a lot of computer-aided design. So we're trying to be as high-tech as we can, but still produce something which I think looks nice.
Looks classic.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's the thing for me with boat design that I love, is it's a massive blend of art and science. So obviously the maths has got to be right, it's got to float, it's got to be stable enough, it's got to carry the people, etc. But it's also got to look nice as well. So it's that the two are sort of vying with each other over your time when you're designing a boat.
Would you say there's one thing that is working for you right now?
The guys are taking the mick out of me over there, so that's kind of working for me. Not working for me. Is there one thing working for me right now? Well, I mean, I'm really pleased with the motorboat, because that was a big step for us. It's not only a bigger boat than it's 30 feet long, and our biggest sailboat's only 26 feet. So it's a whopping investment in design and time and building. And we took it to Southampton Boat Show last year, 2021, as a brand new prototype. You know, I only phoned the press about a week before and sent them details of it, and got back from the show with precisely 0 orders. But then over the winter they really trickled in, and we've now sold 10 of those. We've only built the first one, so number 2 and 3 are behind me. But it's been good because I've much more from a sailing background, and to me motorboats it's a bit like, I don't know, rugby and football. Some people are much more expert on both, and one or the other. And but I did study the market for a long time. It was sort of 4 years in the making, thinking about the design and tweaking the design of the motorboat before we actually built it. So, but it seems like it's paid off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Would you say there's one thing that's super challenging right now?
Inflation is a bit of a killer, because our boats, we take an order and we can't build a boat for 6, 8, 12 months. In fact, 12 months for a motorboat and 12 months for quite a few of the sailboats at the moment. And, you know,
I'm guessing, do you make to order?
We make to order, yeah. The first motorboat was made on spec. The first of one or two other designs sometimes are made on spec, but otherwise, yeah, completely to order.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're taking an order now. The customer wants a price, and we don't build it for a year's time. When we pay for the materials, oops, what's going to happen? So that's a product, and I just wasn't used to it. I started in 2005 when inflation was, virtually zilch for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, getting used to it.
And what's a great day in the workshop?
A great day is still selling a boat, because my favourite jobs are designing boats and selling boats.
Yeah.
And it still gives me a big kick when a customer, would rather have the boat than all the money that's in his bank account.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely, and it gives me a slightly warm feeling that I'm going to be able to keep employing the guys and everything will be fine. So it is a buzz. Yeah, definitely selling a boat is good.
What's your favourite tool to use?
My favourite tool. Probably, this sounds a bit weird, but a really well set up bandsaw. A really well set up bandsaw with a brand new blade is lovely, I'm afraid. But actually, my favourite tool, because of what it does for us, is the CNC machine, because we've had one now for 15 years or so, and it's just enables you to prototype so fast and to build so accurately.
Incredible. Yeah, I did have huge appreciation of how organised all the tools are. It reminds me of
some of them are, yeah. It's Friday afternoon. They should have been a bit tidier, but yeah, the motorboat. Virtually every single bit of wood that goes into it has been computer cut, and that's kind of like the secret of how we can. Because normally a wooden boat would be many more hours to build and a lot more labour intensive. But it still is more labour intensive, but not hugely so, and people are willing to pay the premium.
Do you have a quote or a motto that you say to yourself repeatedly?
No, sorry, nothing. Can't think of any pearl of wisdom. Kind of like, go on, you're going to prompt me.
Work hard, play hard.
Hold your breath while you're picking up dog poo. That's a good one, I think. We've got a dog for the last 5 years now, I think, and yeah, it took me a while to remember, but it's much better.
It's a good takeaway.
Yeah.
And do you have any advice that you'd give to another maker?
Well, I suppose, no, not really, but it took me a long time. I went through university and did an engineering degree, which I'm really pleased I did. But it had very little, it was very academic and very little actually to do with making. And it took me then another 3 or 4 years in a sort of boring city job, management consultant, to realise that actually what I really enjoyed doing was making stuff and seeing something created, designing, problem solving, building it. So I just think, and my dad, I had the best kind of upbringing to go straight into that thing, because my dad is the same, but it's still, I was quite blind to it in a way. I suppose from being at university, you're kind of on this track that you've got to go to London and you've got to earn big bucks and all the rest of it. And that was probably more of it rather than just being a bit blind to it. But if you realise that making is what you enjoy doing, then apply for a job and also do it, because, life's pretty short.